Before this video starts, I just do want to mention that I recently made a new horror game called The Funnel Tunnel. It is free, be sure to go check it out if you want to. It's part of the Anomalous Entity Jam on Itch.io. It is my submission for that game jam. So if you want to go vote for it and give the game a rating after you play it, be sure to, as that will help out the game a bunch. Just give it a 1 to 5 star rating, whatever you think the game is, after you play it. So yeah, anyways, see you all next time, and let's continue on. Hey everyone, Omogonix here, and welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. So today's video isn't going to be a Unity or Godot tutorial, it is instead going to be a tutorial where I teach you guys how I make ambient sounds for my horror games. This video was originally going to be about how I make sounds for my horror games in general. However, I've decided it's much more easier to separate tutorials focusing on separate sounds rather than trying to fit as much as I can into a single tutorial. So if there's anything else you'd like me to show, like how I make my jump scare sounds or other sorts of sounds that I may make myself, be sure to let me know down in the comments below, and if it's something I've done before, I'll consider making a tutorial on it. So to record and edit a lot of my audio, whether it be sounds for my games, voice recordings, etc., I use a program called Audacity, which you've most likely heard of before. I've used it for years now. Audacity is completely free, and there's a lot you can do with it in terms of recording and editing your audio. There's a bunch of effects and stuff too. So I definitely do recommend you download it since it's very useful and easy to use. If you already have an audio recording and editing program that you prefer, you don't have to use Audacity if you don't want to. It's just a suggestion since that's what I use. So before I do get to explaining how I make my ambient sounds, let me show you guys a few examples of different ambient sounds I've made. I'll also list the names of the games I made them for. Okay, so now let's finally get to making an ambient sound. So first off, I open Audacity, I make sure my mic's connected, and then when I'm ready, I start recording. What I do for my ambient sound during the recording process depends on the vibe I'm going for and the game I'm making, but I will tell you guys a list of things I may do during the recording process. Sometimes I'll stay silent for most of the recording since there may be enough sounds already going on in the background and I can use that as the base of the ambient sound. Sometimes I might slightly tap on my desk or my keyboard, so when I do edit the ambient sound the usual way I do, it almost sounds like creepy footsteps on a metal floor. Sometimes I might make sounds with my mouth, such as, wind blowing sounds, coughing into my mic, growling, making other random noises with my mouth, saying certain words slowly, etc. But overall, most of my ambient sounds I make contain a combination of all them things that I just talked about. So now that I've explained what I do whilst I record my ambient sounds, what I will do now is record an ambient sound. You guys will see that process, and then I'm going to edit it the way I usually edit a lot of my ambient sounds. So let's get to it. Alright, so as I just said, I'm now going to start recording this sound, and you guys are going to see the whole process of it. So whenever I'm recording an ambient sound, I open up Audacity, make sure my mic's connected, and then I press the red button here to start recording. So let's go. Alright, so I recorded for about a minute there. Usually I record for about 30 seconds to a minute when it comes to my ambient sounds. You don't really need to do much else. I mean, it all depends on what you want to do, of course, but yeah. So now that we've got it all recorded, let's just listen to a tiny bit of it. Of course we won't be able to hear much, but yeah, because it's a bit quiet right now. So you can hear the tapping. But yeah, so now what we're going to do is we are now going to edit this sound. So what I usually do first off is I usually start off by amplifying the sound, so then we can actually hear it better. So now that I've amplified it, let's take a listen at a certain bit of it. Alright, so now it is able to be heard better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select all our audio, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the speed of it. So if you go to the effects tab up here, when you go down a bit, you should see change speed. And then usually what I do is I then change the speed multiplier to something like 0.5, or at least a bit lower, as you just saw before then when I went onto this tab. It was at 0.35 I think just before. Sometimes I might set it to something like that. It all depends on what I want to do for my game. But yeah, so for this tutorial I'm going to be setting the speed multiplier to something like 0.45. And that will increase the length of this audio recording from 1 minute and 16 seconds to 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So let's do that. And boom, so now it has been extended. So now let's give this audio recording another listen. So now things are a bit more pitched down since we extended out the recording. So as you can hear, the taps there are more lower pitched. And so is that growl there, that's also more lower pitched. But yeah. Alright, so what I'm thinking of doing is extending the runtime of it a bit more. Sometimes you might find yourself, just playing around with the certain, settings and stuff to try get things a bit more perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to extend the runtime of my recording out just a bit more, just because that's what I want to do. So now let's take another listen. Alright, yeah, I'm liking the pitch of that more and just the speed of it more. So yeah, so if you want to play around with the speed of your audio a bit more, be sure to, get things perfect, get things the way you want it. And yeah. So once you've got the speed of your ambient sound all sorted out and the pitching and stuff like that, if you want to change the pitch of your ambient sound as well, you can just like press Ctrl A to select it all. Then you just go to effects, change pitch, and then you can change the pitch to whatever you like. You can basically change this the percentage slider here, and then yeah. So as you can see, if I put it down to here, it is -55, which means that the pitch will go down by 55%, and so on and so forth if you extend it up even more. So yeah. So what we're going to be doing now that I've got my ambient sound all ready for this next step, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going effect, and also make sure that you have your ambient sound selected. Make sure you press Ctrl A to select your ambient sound. Then you want to go down to reverb in the effects, and now we're going to be adding some reverb to the sound. So usually the amount of reverb I add all depends on the sort of game I'm making, where the ambient sound is going to be. With most of my sounds I usually just have like 100 room size set, with 100% reverberance. If you want to copy the sort of settings that I have here for my reverb, that's totally fine. So you can set the reverb to what you like, but usually with most of my games, I usually have the reverb set to 100% on the room size and 100% on the reverberance. They're usually the main two settings that I play around with. I don't really touch anything else. So yeah. But when you do have your reverb ready and you have it the way you want, just press OK. And boom, the reverb is now applied. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a bit of another listen. So as you can hear, that actually sounds a bunch more creepier now. That sort of wind blowing sound there, that sounds a bunch more creepier. Remember when I talked about how when tapping my desk it sounds like metal footstep sounds? This is exactly what I'm talking about. It sounds exactly like creepy metal footstep sounds. So this ambient sound might be good to have in like the distance in a game, where for example you might hear stuff going on in the distance, like walking around, you know, certain monsters growling, that sort of stuff. So yeah, overall, that is a pretty decent ambient sound right now. I'm really liking that. In fact, I'd pretty much almost consider that done. If you guys want to reverb your sound even more, like, you know, give it double reverb, you can do that if you want to. I've done that with a few of my sounds before, and sometimes it can, you know, make them pop out even more. I am actually going to do that just as a test. If I don't like it, however, I will revert it back. But if you guys want to do like a double layer of reverb, feel free to do that. It can actually, you know, bring out a bunch more in your sound. But yeah, it all depends on what you're going for, of course. Sometimes it might ruin your sound, sometimes it might make it better. Of course, it all depends on your sound, what you're going for, your vibe, everything like that. So yeah. So anyways, I'm going to do a double layer of reverb, and I'm going to see how this sounds with like a double layer. See if it actually makes it sound even more immersive. It almost sounds like a ghost, sort of like, I don't know, wailing or something like that. I really like what I did there. But yeah, I think that double layer of reverb actually did do a good job there. So if you guys want to try do a double layer of reverb with your ambient sound, I do recommend that. So anyways, now that we've got pretty much the main bulk of our sound done, there is still one last thing left to do, and that's to make sure that our sound smoothly loops. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to select a couple seconds of our sound at the beginning. So what I recommend you do is you go towards the beginning of your sound, maybe the first 5 to 10 seconds of it, then you just drag along, and then just press Ctrl-C to copy. And then what you want to do after you copy it is then delete it. So make sure you still have that part selected and then delete it right afterwards. And then paste that part that you just copied at the end of the recording. And then what we're going to do here is to make sure that we have like some fade between the end of this audio and then the start of this next bit of the audio, since we don't want it to just be like an instant cut, so then it sounds weird. What we want to do is you want to like start dragging from probably like the middle of your bit which you just copied and pasted, and then just drag it a bit towards the end of the recording here, and then you just go effect, and then you want to find crossfade clips, and then you want to crossfade them clips together. And yeah, so now what that will do is that will make sure that your ambient sound will now loop smoothly. because what we've just done is we've just deleted the start of the audio and pasted it at the end. So now when it reaches that end of, now when it reaches the end of the ambient sound, it will just go straight to then, playing from where it's meant to at the start of the audio here again, if you get what I mean. So yeah. So that there is how you make ambience sounds for your horror games. And, well, that's just how I do it. There's different ways, of course, in which you can do it. Everyone's different, of course, with how they do it, but that's just my way of making ambient sounds. And, yeah, so if you guys did enjoy this tutorial, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Once you are done making your ambient sound, all that's left to do is to export it, and then, just add it into your game. So, yeah. So when it comes to exporting your sounds, in case you've never exported a sound before in an audio editing program, usually with something like Audacity, you just go File, and then, export, and then you can export it to whatever format you want, whether it be MP3, WAV, OGG, you get it. I usually always export as MP3, but you guys can do whatever format you want, so yeah. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I'll be sure to see you all next time. Bye-bye.